Morion is an occupied space from 2001, when we were involved in the preparation of struggles against the G8 summit in Genoa. We do music night every week with local young musicians, and we are involved in struggles against climate change for a different ecological sustainability. And that's the reason for we have a new project from this year, that is the pizzeria, where we cook with all ingredients that came from local producers. And we also have a project from Laboratorio, that is re-biennale, that we take materials that were used in biennale and usually are thrown away, and we reuse in our spaces, in our occupied houses and neighborhoods, for build new construction. And we came from an anti-fascist culture, and we are involved in struggles against the racist party Lega Nord. And we were in Europe in the last years. We were in Copenhagen, we were in Brussels, in Frankfurt, we were in Tunisia 2 years ago. Now we are here again, and we hope to see you at the end of May in Frankfurt with us for a Europe of movement and not of finance. Get on the revolution, get on the revolution, get on the revolution. Get on the revolution, get on the revolution, get on the revolution. Get on the revolution, get on the revolution, get on the revolution. Get on the revolution, get on the revolution, get on the revolution.
Lab.Occ.Morion is a space in Venice. It is a space run by artists, students, designers and architects. We decided to squat this building that was empty in 2007 because we were all people working in the cultural field in Venice, and many of us felt like exploited into this model of production of the creative industries. So since then, Laboratorio, it has become a point of reference for two different things, let's say. The first level is the one of the struggle within the cultural work of Venice. So we were struggling at the side of the precarious workers of the very important exhibition and foundation, the Biennale, and we have been involved in many cultural struggles in Venice during the last 5 years. The second level, it is the one of the cultural production. Sale is a cultural program made of performances, exhibitions, seminars, but everything is structured as an alternative model of cultural production. So there is no hierarchy, everyone works not competing with each other, but putting together the different know-hows, etc. We are a group of more or less like 30 activists now, and so that's it. That's what we do in Venice as cultural activists in this town.
For us, everything started in 2008 when the crisis, the financial crisis, the international financial crisis hit in Europe, and in Italy, for example, we had a very big movement, student movement, that started from 2008 till 2010, and that started a big fight against the reform of the school system and of the university system in Italy, that was going to be, let's say, somehow destroyed as we known it before. And we started to make many strikes together with workers, because our government started some reforms and big cuts on the health system, to the work rights, and so we started to, let's say, work together with different groups all around Italy to fight these reforms that were really unfair to the people and to the population of Italy. So you probably know how it ended, and it ended in the 14th of December 2010, some months before the revolution started in Tunisia, and it ended when in Italy we had this huge strike in Rome, and we saw our government selling their own politicians to make these reforms pass, let's say. So what happened is that in front of a whole nation asking for rights and asking for a system not that corrupted as we saw and as we experienced it, we had a big repression down the streets. We experienced the repression from the police, and a big riot exploded, let's say, in Rome. Because what we saw, it was a very big transformation of the of our rights and of our lifestyles. Because what is actually going on in Italy is that a crisis that we haven't made, but it was a financial crisis. It was turned to be something that the people should pay. So what we were asking, let's say our slogan was, we won't pay your crisis, because what we wanted, it was to be able to study, it was to be able to work after we graduated and to have rights while we were working. And this is not happening in Italy. That's what happened in these 2 years. So from 2008 to 2010, in the university, you could see and live very big movement, people working together, and then after 2010 it didn't stop the fight. What we did just right after, let's say, the government decided to ignore or to just stop listening to the people who voted for them, we decided to travel and to meet the movement all around Europe. And for us, Europe, it was as well Tunisia. That's why we went in Tunisia in February or early March, and then again in July, to meet other students, to understand what they were claiming for, to understand the way they work together and how they organized the protest in Tunisia. When we met all these young guys our age that experienced the same kind of repression that we did, we really feel a connection, like, with the people of our age that are somehow fighting for the same things, for democracy, that are fighting for rights, that are fighting for health and for welfare and for a public school system. So when we came back here in Venice, we tried to make a link and to tell everybody what we saw in Tunisia and in Sidi Bouzid and all around the country. And we can felt how much our the people that studied with us was interested in what was going on in Tunisia, for example. So from 2010 till today, what we decided to do is to have a collective of students of the university here in Venice that are a mix of people studying economics or art and everything else, and we try to work together to let's say resist to what our school is becoming, of what our university are becoming, which means we are asking for public schools while we're seeing that the costs to studies are much higher than 2 years before. We are trying to have groups together working to have like moments of free culture, and we're trying to help each other to continue to have a welfare state also in university, that it means, for example, to have the right to study, the right to live in the city where the people are studying. So in the video you will see some of the action that we did against the politicians coming in Venice, saying, for example, that university are not for everybody, but only for an elite, for groups of very rich people that can afford the cost to study and to find a job then. Now the movement hasn't stopped yet, and we're still, I mean, powerful and ready to fight. So again, we are here in Tunisia, but we wish to meet everybody again in Frankfurt at the end of May to fight together for a different Europe, and a Europe of rights and of democracy. See you on the barricades. Get on the revolution, get on the revolution, get on the revolution. Get on the revolution, get on the revolution.
Big ships are a very big problem for the city of Venice. Every year, about 2,000 times, these big cruise ships cross from the beginning to the end, across all the city, and they cause a very big damage for the city. First of all, they make a very heavy pollution. Every single engine of these big ships pollute like 14,000 cars. If you think that in a summer weekend there can even be around 7 or 8 of these big ships in the heart of Venice, you can imagine, you can have a measure of the pollution, and Venetian inhabitants are kind of living actually in the middle of a highway, like quantity of pollution that we breathe every day and every year. These ships also make a very heavy impact to the structure, to the buildings of the city. Every time that these ships cross Venice, they move an enormous amount of water, about 135,000 cubic meters of water. This enormous amount of water crashes against the buildings and against the bases of the monuments and the buildings, and that is the reason why you see every day in Venice this kind of cracks that opens in the street and in the houses, and the parts of Venice are literally collapsing into the water. Also, these big ships make a very heavy damage to the environment of the lagoon, of the natural environment of the city. They move, they dig, and they move millions of cubic meters of sand that get off of the bottom of the lagoon, and this is a very important damage because of these passages of these ships, the lagoon is transforming into sea, and with heavy consequences on the level of the tides and the phenomenon of high water that everybody knows that is causing big problems to the city of Venice. These ships cross the city just for the big companies, just because the big companies can continue to make money and make profits with a very stupid kind of tourism that doesn't really care about Venice, doesn't really care about the city, and they just care about their own profits, and they are just using the city of Venice like a postcard. About 1 year ago, people of Venice, students, activists of social movements, boys and old people, formed a very important committee that is fighting for keeping away these enormous ships from the lagoon. And it's a very heavy struggle, it's a very difficult fight, because these big companies, Li.s.c. or Costa Crociere, are actually some financial multinational enterprises that have very strong connections with all political parties and all governments that do not make a single thing to save Venice from this destruction. All these people that are forming this committee know very well how the life of Venice is strictly related to the life of her lagoon and how the wealth of Venice water and of Venice city are strictly related. The committee against the big ships made a lot of strikes, made a lot of water manifestation. The biggest one was in 16th of September of last year, that hundreds of boats and people on the shore managed to stop for 3 hours 3 of these enormous ships. We are kind of winning something, and because I think that most of the city is against this violence that we are forced to see against us every day, and we collected 20,000 signatures of inhabitants of the city that are asking to the government and the city hall to stop this situation. And in these days we managed to win that the companies will use a different kind of fuel when they cross the city, a fuel that it's not so dangerous for the health of Venetian inhabitants. And the struggle is still long, and it will be still very hard. And several other manifestations are in program for this year, and the biggest one, and to which we would like to invite everybody, will be on the 8th and on the 9th of June, where an international call for mobilization will stop actually the passage of these ships across Venice.
Call out direction, I'm getting ready for revolution.